Kunkel here. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel and set the notification bell to all so that you won't miss any of my new content. On this episode of Global Topic, it will be a discussion on contractor quality control and owner quality assurance. Joining me today is Chris Stathopoulos from Remington and Vernick Engineers. Chris, welcome.
Thank you, Jim.
Hey, Chris, if you could take a second, explain your role and also talk a little bit about RVE as well.
Sure. My role at Remington and Vernick is I'm a senior coatings inspector for the company. I also assist all our engineers and personnel with specifications and what's involved with a protective coatings job and abrasive blasting job. I've been quality assurance now for about 4 years, and previously I worked on the contractor side for about 10 years. Started at the end of a vacuum hose, moved my way up, pretty much to QC and every other job title under the sun, which usually happens when you're working for the contractor. A little bit about Remington and Vernick Engineers is Remington and Vernick Engineers is one of the oldest engineering firms in the country. They were founded in 1901. They have over 350 employees in 4 states, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland. We also use the newest and best technologies available to us, like time-lapse photography, drone videography and photography, 3D printing. We are committed to continuing education for our employees as far as whether it's certification, recertification, training in their respective disciplines.
Very interesting. So, Chris, as an experienced professional in both quality control and quality assurance, what are the differences between both of them? And then why are both, critical to the success of an industrial coating project?
That's a very good question, Jim. So quality control is the process for the contractor. Pretty much they work for the contractor and ensure that all the inspections, all material being delivered on site, all installations of the beads and methods are being installed and being performed as per the contract specifications and documentation. Quality insurance is pretty much the owner's representative, and they're there to ensure that the quality control is being done. It's almost like a checks and balances. They are both very important because of the necessary inspections that are needed, hold point inspections that are needed to move to the next step. Whether it's, you're starting from a blasting job, QC will do the inspection, QA will verify the inspection.
So industry best practice, dictates, as you mentioned, hold point inspections. Can you explain why hold points are so important? What are some of the critical hold points?
Sure. Hold point inspections are very important to our industry. They are there in place to pretty much, you need to make sure that a condition is achieved as per the contract specifications before moving to the next procedure. One of the most important hold point inspections is pretty much surface preparation. About 70 to 80% of coatings failures happen at surface preparation, or let's say cleanliness, whether it's the blast cleanliness inspection before painting or in between coats, any dust accumulation, things of that nature. Then following that is pretty much ambience. Ambience play a big role in our industry as far as, we need to ensure that we have the right humidity, dew point, temperatures, whether we're blasting or painting, and that's pretty much it.
So, in looking at quality control and then quality assurance, how's the sequence go between both processes?
Okay, Jim, so first, the quality control is there to do all the inspections first. They are to ensure that whatever's being inspected, hold point inspections being performed, meets the contract specifications and also product data sheets, whatever step that we're applying to. Quality assurance is there to report, document, and observe, document, and report the quality control process. Quality control, like I said, is the contractor's assurance. Quality assurance is the owner's representative that the contractor's performing all things needed to complete the project.
So what you're saying is that the quality control is completed by the contractor, and you meet a certain hold point, and then the quality assurance is kind of doing an audit just to make sure and confirm what the quality control has already done.
Exactly. Quality assurance is not there to dictate, do inspections before the quality control. We're just there to ensure that the procedures are being followed as per contract specifications.
So
a lot
earlier,
of times,
okay, I'm sorry.
no, a lot of times when I used to be on the quality control side for the contractor, a lot of quality assurance inspectors thought it was necessary that they would, pretty much dictate the project, which is not the case.
I see. So, and you had mentioned earlier about, drone footage and things like that. How critical, you talked about documentation. How critical is the photographic evidence, or let's say, taking photographs, maybe some video of the timeline associated with quality control, quality assurance? How critical is it?
Jim, it's very critical for a number of reasons, but the most important one is for litigation. Say there's been a failure on a coating and the contractor's pretty much saying, well, I did everything right. How do we ensure, how do we have proof that he didn't do it right? Do we have any NCRs? Do we have pictures of at this stage, what happened at this particular part? How many people, pretty much your documentation is a record of what happened that particular day. And you can go back to it and look back and say, okay, this is what happened. We had these conditions. We had this whole point inspection done. It was approved. It wasn't approved. And, it plays a big part with litigation.
So you had, you had said NCR. Is that a nonconformity report?
Yes.
What would that be?
For example, say that the contractor was applying the paint not within the product data range of ambience for the material being applied, or was blasting during with ambience, or the profile wasn't achieved during the blast operations. It could be a new bunch of different things that will construe an NCR.
Very interesting. Hey, so, Chris, we had a great conversation. In closing out this episode, is there anything that we did not talk about that you would want to cover with the viewers of the episode?
Yes, Jim. One of the important things to have to do before a project starts is have a pre-painting meeting. That's where everyone gets together, discusses the contract, the scope of the work. All the whole point inspections are discussed between quality control and quality assurance, making sure we're all on the same page and there's no misinterpretation of the specifications. So everyone's following the same guidelines and there's no surprises. That's
good.
Pretty much it, yeah.
Oh, very good, very good. Well, Chris, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Hey, have a great day.
You too. Take care.